Tribunal was released about 6 months after the initial release of Morrowind as something to do after completing the main quest, after fulfilling the prophecy and after getting your fill of what Vardenfell has to offer. By this point, you'd be a high-level character, an overpowered god most likely. So that the expansion wasn't too easy, most of the quests were designed with that expectation, an endgame character with endgame gear. But what if you went in immediately, at level 1? Let's go over the basic rules. First, no leaving the Tribunal expansion zones. Once I'm there, I'm trapped. Second, no bugs or glitches, and no fortifying intelligence or luck to make a never-ending loop of stronger and stronger potions. See my Breaking Morrowind with Alchemy video if you're curious. Third, max difficulty because suffering means content. Like most Bethesda games, this means I will be doing less damage, and I will be taking much more damage. It's like being a glass cannon, except instead of a cannon, I'm a pop gun, and I'm made out of something even more fragile than glass. I don't know, newborns. Beyond that, there are no real limitations. I'm going straight from Satanin to Mournhold, so I need to take advantage of whatever Mournhold has to offer. For mods, I'm running the game with the OpenMW engine using the I Heart Vanilla mod list. It's basically just a bunch of graphical improvements, quality of life changes, and bug fixes. There is one extra game-changing mod thrown in, however. There's a bug in OpenMW 0.48 that causes some goblins to freeze when they're hit a single time. They have a potion they're supposed to drink, but a bug prevents them from drinking it, so they don't do anything. I modded them myself to remove the potion from their inventory. It's a weak potion, 1 point for 5 seconds, so it doesn't really matter. It was either that or have them freeze. We're making a melee character for this because many enemies in Mournhold have high elemental resistances, and reflect, especially the final boss. Can you guess who it is? As I travel to Ebonheart, let me explain my skill choices. Longblade will be our primary weapon type because we can get a Daedric Claymore pretty early on in the main quest, and Trueflame is a Longblade that we get kind of near the end of the main quest. It's pretty strong. Conjuration starts us off with a Bound Dagger spell, so we have something to fight with before we get enough gold to buy stuff in the city of Mournhold. Restoration will be pivotal, not because we're going to be healing ourselves. Rather, we'll be taking advantage of the Fortify skill spells added with the expansion. Athletics so we can run better, block so we can block. Future me here, we're not going to really use any shields. Heavy armor to mitigate some damage. Future me here, it's not going to matter, we basically got one shot regardless. Marksman because why not? Acrobatics to do the jumps. Armorer to fix the armor. Spear because, I don't know, maybe I could use the Blessed Spear. I won't. We'll be taking the Lady Birth Sign. It gives us a little bit more endurance so we can get some more health as we get a few levels doing the quests. In retrospect, that's dumb because I'm gonna get one shot by everything since the enemies can hit like 200 points of damage. It's crazy. The low-level goblins are monsters. The Thief might have been better actually, just a 10% chance to dodge attacks. That might have been better. I chose to be an orc solely for the berserk power. Once a day you can go berserk for a minute, draining your agility by 100 points, fortifying your health by 20 points, fortifying your fatigue by 200 points, and fortifying your attack by 100 points. That last buff right there, 100 points to attack, it more or less gives you perfect accuracy. Every point of attack is just added onto your percent chance to hit, so 100 points to attack gives you an extra 100% chance to hit. Technically, evasion could make it so you can miss sometimes, but for the most part, you're never gonna miss. So I rested over and over again just outside Vivek until a Dark Brotherhood assassin attacked me. My Bound Dagger paired with Berserk made killing him very easy. Then I realized I forgot to turn the difficulty up to 100, so I reloaded and waited around again. Same strategy, but this time around you can see the difference in how much damage I'm actually doing. I'd show you how much damage he can do, but if I did, I'd die. I used the bit of starter gold you get while leaving the Census and Excise office to buy a Divine Intervention scroll from Errol, just to make getting to Ebonheart a bit faster. I was gonna drop all my stuff as soon as I got to Mournhold anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, but what if you got attacked by something on the way to Ebonheart? What, a rat? I would've... who cares? Apelles Mattius sends us to Ascian Rain to secure a teleport, to Mournhold so I can clear up this quirky little misunderstanding with the Dark Brotherhood. Who would want to assassinate me? I'm just a guy who arrived in Morrowind who hasn't done a damn thing to pose a threat to anyone, especially not Morrowind's monarchy. Oh, it's a bug probably? This shouldn't happen until much later? Bethesda. We arrive in Mournhold, naked as the day we're born. Orcs are born with undergarments. And are greeted by the incessant buzzing of the local fauna. You can just tell this place is humid as all get out. If the Elder Scrolls Online is anything to go by, Deshaan, where Mournhold is pretty swampy. Okay, we need gold. There's plenty of stuff to steal in the Legion district of Mournhold, cheap weapons in the crates, but mostly alchemy supplies in the urns and sacks. The problem is that many of the merchants in Mournhold have stupidly high mercantile levels, meaning they won't pay much for anything you're trying to sell them. That is, unless you have a high mercantile level yourself. Ah, perhaps you see where I'm going with this. Lorena Maria sells spells, such as Masterful Fluid Evasion, Fortify Unarmored 15 points for 60 seconds. Useless as is, but with how spellmaking works, I just need to buy any of her Fortify skill spells to be able to make my own custom Fortify skill spells, in any skill, not just the one I bought. All I need is several hundred gold to buy the initial Fortify spell, and a little more gold to make my own Fortify Mercantile spell. Once I have that, gold will be no problem whatsoever. With high enough Mercantile, you can buy and sell the same item over and over again to a merchant and turn a profit. It's really silly, and is why I love Morrowind. But how do I get that 600-ish gold if all the vendors will only buy stuff for me for a single septum? Even this whole stack of 105 salt rice? Ratesh, the innkeeper, will only buy it for 1 gold. I need to open and close the shop over and over again to get 105 septums for all of it. That's too tedious for me. In the Great Bazaar, I can sell some of the weapons I pinched for 20 septums to Darren. Better than nothing, I suppose, but there's gotta be a better way. Well, there is. At first, I wanted to gear up, at least a little bit, before diving into the sewers below Mournhold. Maybe get myself a longsword with a bit of extra reach so I can rope-a-dope the goblins. But I knew the amount of time it would take selling items for peanuts above ground would take much longer than just throwing myself at the goblins over and over again, in hopes of getting lucky and walking away with its weapon and shield. So, to the sewers we go. I'm going to keep the call to action short. If you like my content, you should subscribe. Morrowind's Khajiit are so cute, not in a weird way, in a, oh, look at the little kitty kind of way. Look at Ahina, she's so cute. She kind of looks like Iggy, actually. Yeah, these ghosts aren't that strong, but my short blade skill is, I want to say 5. Bound weapons fortify the specific weapon type skill by 10 points, but it's still super inaccurate. With Berserk, however, if your biggest gripe with Morrowind is accuracy, and you don't want to download a mod to change that, be an orc. Or be a Redguard, take Long Blade as a major skill with the combat specialization. You start with 50 in the skill, so you're very accurate. Got some skellies among our ghosts. Like the ghosts, they aren't all that tough. At least these ones aren't. Yeah, resting for 24 hours between fights is going to be a common theme throughout this run. You gotta have Berserk available at all times. And here's our first goblin. Yeah, they're pretty strong. What makes them really tricky isn't just that they're an irresistible force and I'm a quite movable object, it's that they've also got a really high block chance. Even with 100% accuracy, I not only have to backpedal out of range of their attacks between each of my attacks, but when I do attack, assuming I don't whiff their hitbox completely by standing too far away when attacking, they're liable to totally negate the damage just by lifting their shield. A perfect accuracy roll doesn't matter if they get a perfect block roll. And sometimes they'll block several times in a row. I can't even rely on chaining staggers together because they can block at any moment. And it seems, as far as I can tell, that their attacks apply damage at the beginning of their animation, not during the animation. Suffice it to say, there's a small window of time where it's safe to enter their attack range. I can't explain what that window is or what it looks like. It's something you just kind of gotta feel. Different enemies have different windows, but usually enemies don't crush you into the dirt if they hit you once, so attacking these guys is a bit riskier. It's tricky, it's stressful, it's totally unfair, and it's exactly what I'm looking for. I hate it. Look at the stats of this goblin sword. 10 to 35 damage on a short blade. Wild. It's not as fast as the bound dagger, however, so I'll stick with that for now. What I'm looking for is a goblin with a club. The swords are only worth 100 septums each, the shields are worth about 1,000, but the clubs are worth 3,000. I'm not sure how much the merchants will undercut me, but 2 or 3 clubs should do the trick. Whoa, man, you don't gotta ham it up. Oh, carrying skooma, huh? You little fiend, you. You know what, let's actually try using a shield. It'd be dumb to rely on, but it can afford me just a teeny tiny bit of insurance if I don't move out of the way fast enough, and I actually manage to block, but that's unlikely since Morrowind's all about those dice rolls. Let me jump out of the POV narration thing for a second. There is another way of fighting these guys that's a bit riskier, but it makes the kills a lot faster. It's the Dark Souls method of combat where you just circle strafe right up next to the enemy. There's 2 ways of missing in Morrowind, statistically and mechanically. The former is just the result of random number generation. You have a % chance to hit. Did you hit? Yes or no? The latter is the question of whether you made contact with the enemy's hitbox. You can have 100% accuracy statistically, but if you miss the hitbox, you aren't going to hit the enemy. You need the weapon to hit the enemy's hitbox before the game rolls the dice and sees if you statistically hit the hitbox. By strafing, I think you kind of force the enemy to perpetually miss your hitbox. It's the same idea as running in and out of range, but this way lets you stay close enough to attack over and over again. More attacks equals more damage equals faster kills. But if you slip up and strafe wrong, you're dead. Ah, Durzogs. They're also referred to as sludge puppies. They're like if dogs were reptiles. Holy shit. What was that? Is it 6 times in a row? You blocked 6 times in a row, asshole? Yeah, good. Durzogs aren't all that tough. Well, they're tough. They're probably stronger than the goblins, but fighting them isn't all that bad. Something about their animation makes it easier to time their attacks. I think it's because goblins, the ones with the weapons at least, are very jittery with how they attack, so it's harder to read. The Durzogs just swipe at you with their claws. I now realize attack speed doesn't really matter if you're not spam attacking. My attacks are ideally precisely timed against the goblins attacked, so a slow, hard-hitting weapon is a better option. With Berserk active, the Fortify Shortblade buff from the dagger doesn't even matter. Oh my god, this is way better! And this is a club goblin. You know how he spends his weekends. Spend his weekends. Don't worry, he'll be back. You see, I didn't realize this at the time, but by disposing of corpses, you actually cause the enemies to respawn faster than they normally would. Why did I dispose of this corpse instead of just clicking loot all and moving on? No idea. Oh man, this sword, it's like night and day. Now these guys, Goblin Bruisers, I believe they're called, are somehow more dangerous and less dangerous than the other goblins. More dangerous because they have more health, can heal, and are resistant to normal weapons. Less dangerous because their attacks are easier to time. Like Durzogs, they attack with their bare hands. Some do cast spells though, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I think I've got enough loot now. Let's return to town. Oh look, all the goblins that I've killed have returned. How fun. If only there was something I could have done to prevent this. What a tragedy. Well, it all worked out in the end, after a couple deaths. And I got another goblin club out of it, so I'm satisfied. Let me show you the annoying thing about Berserk. When it wears off, you lose all your fatigue, making it go negative, and you collapse onto the ground while your fatigue replenishes. For whatever reason, even when fortified, you still use your base fatigue first. Then, you use the extra fatigue from the fortification. So if you have 300 fatigue with Berserk active, use 200 fatigue, when the buff wears off, you'll lose that 200 fortified fatigue, dropping you to negative 100. You literally have to sit there and wait for it to replenish. Of course, you can just wait and it'll fill up just fine, but it's still annoying. And you also have to wait for the falling down and standing up animations to finish. I mean, it's like 5 seconds. What am I, made of time? You can get around this by waiting for at least 2 hours before the buff wears off. 1 hour clears the buff, the next hour replenishes your fatigue, so you never fall down. But what if it wears off in combat? You can't wait in combat. Don't worry, you're gonna die anyway. Nearly out, there's Iggy Cat, and a ghost is chasing me. We just cast the goddamn spell. Phew, thank you. Okay, let's get out of here. Really? Alright, so if you're wondering what happens if you knock someone down with hand-to-hand while they're in the water, here you go. They drown. Finally, we've escaped. Man, I must stink something fierce right now. Isn't it weird how all fantasy games with sewers aren't full of disgusting, shit-filled water? It's always just huge corridors with a little bit of water at the bottom. Is that what sewers used to be like? Is that what sewers are like now? I guess not knowing how municipal sanitation functions means it is functioning rather well. It's like the saying goes, when you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all. Castilla Socia, yeah, I'm gonna say Castilla Socia, that's more fun. She's a merchant in the Great Bazaar, and she's got a pretty low mercantile level and large pockets of gold. The perfect person to sell our goblin crap to. I'll sell the shields to her for about 2,400 septums and hold on to the maces for now. We'll sell those soon enough. With this gold, I'm first going to swing by the temple courtyard and buy some spells from Marihellis. Civi Intervention to more quickly return to this location from anywhere in Mournhold, and Wisdom, a Fortify Intelligence spell that I can use to make Fortify spells for other attributes, like Personality, if needed. While we're here, let's start the main quest. You don't actually need to deal with the Dark Brotherhood, ironically, to complete the entire main quest. There's an optional parallel quest line that involves helping King Helseth, the son of Queen Baranzaya, deal with potential assassination plots. He's from House Hlalu, and as you can imagine, the other great houses don't like it that their king isn't one of them. you know how it is. Also, he murdered the previous king. Que sera sera. Devoted servant to Almalexia, Fedris Hlur doesn't much care for the new king. The previous king was a known variable, an easy puppet for the tribunal to control. This new guy though, who can say? Fedris tells us that Helseth's new recruits are concerning. You see, the city has a standing army, as is tradition, even though it's not needed due to having an actual god living within the city itself. But the Dunmer love tradition, so an army they must have. Helseth's army is different. He's raising a goblin army. Fedris wants us to go into the sewers and dispatch the goblins' 2 war chiefs, throwing the goblin ranks into disarray, and he wants us to kill the 2 high elves responsible for training the goblins. Easier said than done, but we gotta do it. We'll get around to that. For now, let's pop over to the Imperial Cult Shrine and buy another spell. Any of these fortify skill spells will do. With it, I can make a spell that fortifies any skill I want, and the first one I want to make is Fortify Mercantile, 100 points for 1 second. A 64% cast chance isn't great, but it's good enough. This is why I picked Restoration as a major skill. Level 5 Restoration probably wouldn't cut it. Next, we'll make the same spell, but for Speechcraft, 100 points for 1 second. I'll call it Charismatic Flare. I misspelled it in my Monk playthrough. People told me it was spelled with an I, so there you go. Let's put this Mercantile spell to use. When you open a shop, the world freezes. It's like pausing the game. So the timers on your buffs and debuffs also freeze. This means I can cast Fortify Mercantile and quickly open the shop, allowing me to barter with the merchant as if I had 100 extra points in Mercantile. Not only does this allow me to get better deals for the things I buy and sell, but I'm also able to change the merchant's initial offering price by quite a bit. For instance, I'm selling these goblin clubs and some random loot to Katia, and I'll buy a set of steel armor. Her initial offer is to give me 4,300 gold, but I can barter up to 5,000 quite easily. If I raised her disposition, I could get even more gold from this sale. The adjacent shop sells alchemy supplies, including Grandmaster tools. Normally, the Grandmaster mortar and pestle would cost about 4k, but with my Mercantile boosted, Ungaleb will part with it for a fraction of that price, and he'll buy all the alchemy crap I have for more than a single septim. He also sells Mark and Recall potions. They're cheap enough that I'm not concerned with bartering over them. I'll buy a good helping of both. Better to have them and not need them. What's really absurd with high Mercantile is that you can buy low and sell high to the same merchant with the same item. Here I'm buying Restore Fatigue potions for 100 septims each and selling them back to him for 150. You can, quite literally, generate infinite money this way. When the vendor runs out of cash, wait a day and do this over and over again. Is fortifying Mercantile and taking advantage of stop time and exploit? I don't think so. This is just what would happen if you actually had 100 Mercantile. Is fortifying Mercantile and taking advantage of stop time cheesy as hell? Well, let's just say this video should have an allergy warning. Contains dairy. Listen, I'm level 1, I gotta take what I can get. Cheese my way to 9,000 gold. More than enough to buy a calcinator and a retort. The alembic only reduces the strength and duration of negative effects, which my potions won't have, so I don't need it. I'm gonna make a weak spell to train my mysticism a bit. The failure rate on Umsivia Intervention is just way too high at 5 mysticism. Couple things to do before heading down into the sewers. A better weapon. Tribunal added a new material type for weapons and medium armor, adamantium. They're both better and worse than glass weapons. Higher minimum damage, but lower maximum damage. Adamantium weapons are also slower, but it's our best option right now. So...
Eat a baby's arse through a sewer grate.
What the hell did he just say? Who said that? What the Why is that an audio file in this game? What the hell? Okay, so from Bowles and Darren, I'll buy an Adamantium Claymore, 10 to 40 damage on Chop and Slash. I'll also get a Silver Longsword because there are some goblins that resist normal weapons for some reason. This stuff's expensive though, and Bowles pretty much cleared me out. Now let's check on Albert Nurmark's shop. He's an enchanter, so he sells scrolls, and some of those scrolls pull from the random scroll table. It'd be amazing if he just happened to have Ekash's Lock Splitter, would certainly simplify things for later, and he doesn't. He does sell Soul Trap scrolls though, and restocking soul gems. That gives me an idea. Since I can print gold and Albert is an enchanter, maybe I should just enchant an amulet with Umsivia Intervention on it. Great, time to return to Hell. We need to fight our way through the sewers, beginning under God's Reach, the residential area of Mournhold, and push through dozens of goblins until we get to the Tears of Amun-She, which is where we'll find the war chiefs. And then from there we can go a bit deeper and find the Altmer trainers, but one step at a time. This claymore isn't that much stronger than the goblin sword, now that I look at the detailed stats, but the bigger number is bigger, so it feels better. I don't know if... What the hell is this armor for? I'm getting rid of it. If it's not mitigating enough damage to keep me alive, then all it's doing is slowing me down. I'm pretty sure that's the same reason real-world knights ditch their plate once firearms could pierce it reliably. If it doesn't protect you, why are you wearing it? Well, I was hoping this adamantium claymore would work on these guys, but not quite. They resist normal weapons, and I guess adamantium is a normal weapon. We gotta break out the silver. Goblins are werewolves. Yeah, I'm not surprised the silver longsword blows. Non-POV, just background noise here again. Speaking to you as an aside. So I just looked it up. Not only are goblin weapons decently strong, the club being as strong as a Daedric axe for some goddamn reason, but they also don't count as normal weapons. This sword, made from a mystical metal adamantium, the shit they use to make the skeleton of Hugh Jackman, is too normal to hit ghosts, Daedra, and goblin bruisers. But this club right here made out of bones? What an arcane device. Ooh, from what beast is it hewn? I didn't realize it at the time, so yeah, I teleported out, failing over and over again, mind you, and had to reevaluate my plan. If I had known, I wouldn't have sold this club to Katia, but I didn't know, so I did sold it. I used it to barter all her money away from her. Sell for 3k, buy back for 1.9k, and repeat. Easy cash. Here's a new plan. First, let's soul trap a regular goblin and kill it. Their souls have a value of 100, and that's fine for now. Next, some new fortify spells. Alchemy, 100 points for 1 second, and Personality, 100 points for 1 second. With my various fortify spells, I can go to Albert Nurmark, who looks a lot like Ryan Gosling, and minimize the cost for his enchanting services by raising his disposition. It costs about 9k to make an Umcivi Intervention Amulet, and I didn't realize at the time that raising your mercantile also reduces the price, but oh well. This doesn't solve my goblin problem though. Silver sucks, and adamantium doesn't work. So, I'll buy another soul trap scroll and a soul gem from Albert and return to the sewers to send another goblin to the soul cairn. Don't worry, they deserve it. Jean Andre, a spell merchant in the Great Bazaar's alchemy shop, sells various destruction spells. I'm not sure which damage type I want just yet, so I'll buy one of each. Fire, Frost, and Shock. Also drain health and magicka because, maybe I could use them. Back with Ratesh, I'll buy 100 servings of crab meat, salt rice, and wickweed. Use my Fortify Alchemy spell, and make a bunch of powerful Restore Health and Fatigue potions. Restore Health, 16 points for 39 seconds. Restore Fatigue, 62 points for 177 seconds. Is this cheesing the game? A little bit, but you gotta understand, I'm getting one shot anyway. And you'll see soon enough that potions this strong are pretty much required for some later fights. Trust me, I'll make enough to get 15 alchemies so I can actually see the potion effects. Here's me with an aside once again. I wish I didn't pick fire for this enchant. Goblins resist fire. Some are totally immune to it. I don't know why. But I was mostly thinking about later on when I need to fight undead enemies. Shock might have been better, but it doesn't really matter. I mostly wanted an enchant on this claymore just to make it not a normal weapon. Even if it's uncharged, it'll still be able to damage the bruisers. 10 to 20 points of fire damage for 1 second on strike, but it'll cost about 4k to make. However, by boosting my speechcraft and raising his disposition to 100, then buffing my mercantile, I can bring the total cost down to 1.2k. A little bit of bartering is all it takes to make a new sword. We don't need this garbage silver sword anymore. See? They resist fire. Oh yeah, this is much better than the silver longsword. I'm gonna soul trap this bruiser in case I want to make another enchant. Their souls have a greater value too. Son of... Retrap the bruiser, and we're ready to level up. Our first tribunal only level. Man, look at that attribute spread. Strength, speed, and intelligence. Ooh, something novel. A bruiser that knows magic. General rule for casters, at least for me, dodge their magic until they stop casting. Then, run in and kill them. Even if you strafe while in melee range, their spell might hit the floor, and the area of effect will hit you, killing you. It's safe to dodge at a distance and just play the waiting game. Although, you might run into enemies that have basically infinite magicka, so different strategies involved there. Getting closer to where we gotta be. Hey, you wanna see what a fight without Berserk is like? And every second is tense as hell. What if I just gun it? Ignore everything and load into the next cell. Alright, that might not work. There's actually a sword in this room I want to get, so we're gonna have to fight everything. I'll have to 2v1 these goblins in this room so I can rest, get Berserk back, and fight the bruisers in the next room. But what if I even the playing field? I see. Well, it was worth a shot. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna drink a potion of marking, teleport to the temple, wait a day, recall, back to the caves, use Berserk, and kill the goblins. Cheesy peasy. please release me from this Sisyphean torment. After clearing out the enemies in the room that I said had a sword in it, which took more time than I'm willing to admit, I must now scale this awkwardly sloping debris. But my jumpies don't cut it. I think you could use a levitate potion here, even though levitation isn't allowed in Mournhold proper, but I don't have one. What I do have is a potion of mark. So I'm going to return to Mara Hellas and make a fortify acrobatic spell, 100 points for 1 second, just enough to get me up the slope. Not perfect, but it gets the job done. And of course, there's enemies up here too. Screw it, I'm just going to run in and grab the sword. Don't hit me, don't hit me. Oh! I made it. And my reward is a steel die katana with a 3 to 7 point fire damage enchant on it. It may not look all that great, but... Okay, it's not that great. But it does attack faster than the claymore, and personally, I prefer chopping weapons over slashing weapons. I don't think it matters since I have the use best option setting selected anyway, but chopping just feels like they have more range. It feels beefier, feels stronger, like I'm actually clobbering these idiots in the head, not just cautiously waving at them like I'm watering a flower bed or something. Here we are. The 2 war chiefs are at the ends of each of these tunnels. One of them has a pet Durzog with them that's stronger than the other Durzogs, but I should be able to lure them out in such a way that I only have to fight one at a time. I'll start with the solo guy first. Lure him out into the open, use Berserk, drink some potions to nullify the poison, and I'm dead. Okay, I'll try again. They're surprisingly easier than the other goblins. The rhythm for stun locking them is simpler. Now let's wait a day to renew Berserk, and we'll inch around this corner slowly and try to lure out one of them. Okay, I got the Durzog. Whoa, a wall behind me. Whoa. Oh, I'm calling bullshit on that one. I was out of range. Okay, I figured it out. With Durzogs, you don't want to run in to attack them. You want them to come to you, come within your attack range first, then you attack and backpedal out. By the time it finishes recovering from its stagger, your sword will be at full draw again, ready to swing by the time it runs back into your attack range. This interrupts its attack, effectively stun locking it. The second war chief took a couple attempts, but nothing too tough. His poison attacks are strong, but my potions are too strong for him, and they can outheal the damage. We can use his key, Durgok's key, to open a chest containing a goblin buckler. Drains personality by 50 and speed by 10, but has a constant restore health effect, 1 point per second. I don't think I'll bother using it. I like speed. The Altmer trainers are next on the chopping block. I won't bore you with all the goblin deaths I had on the way, just know they were plentiful. The trainers are in this building, as are several goblins we need to deal with. Some rats too, but they're less of an issue. Here's me with an aside again. This is where I realize the power of strafing. It's like that scene from Shaun of the Dead, you know the one. And it works decently well. It's not as easy when there's 2 enemies, but you can sort of pull it off by half circle strafing back and forth from left to right of the enemy, keeping the second one stuck behind the primary one. Here's a tip. When strafing, don't get stuck against the wall pillar. The Altmer trainers are tough because they're really fast, and there's 2 of them. But if I inch towards them ever so slowly, I might be able to grab the attention of just one of them. Alright, here he comes. You jump scaring bastard. They have shields, so that's annoying, but they're high elves, so they're very weak to fire damage, and both of my swords are enchanted with just that, so that's not annoying. This one has an ebony longsword, unenchanted, but it still qualifies as a special weapon, so that's useful, but it is one-handed. It does have a better damage range than the die katana though. I'll take it and decide what I want to do with it later. Oh my god, I survived a hit! I mean, he knocked me down, but if I heal, I might be able to survive a second hit. I'm up! Wow, Well, that took a minute. For this quest, Fedris Hler awards us with 15,000 gold. A nice offering, I suppose, but I can just haggle this much money away from the merchants. I appreciate it nonetheless. Now he wants us to speak with Gavis Drin, another tribunal lackey. He tells us the Shrine of the Dead, a shrine in Old Mournhold, through the sewers, has been corrupted. A bunch of undead are all up in its business, and we gotta go clear them out. Oh, wait, no. It's 2002. We don't just have to clear out the undead, we gotta escort this doofus down there too. Since I know what might happen down there, I need to buy a Restore Strength spell. We're gonna run into some Bone Walkers, just a few, and we don't want our strength getting drained to 0. I'm also making a Restore Strength on Touch spell too, because the priest we have to babysit can also get over encumbered, and that's a pain in the ass. I'm going to enchant this ebony longsword. 40 points of fire damage for 1 second, good for 20 attacks before it runs out of charge, which is pretty strong, especially since we won't be dealing with goblins anymore, so the fire damage should be very effective against the undead. Alright, dummy, time to go. Alright, wait here. There's a guy on the other side of this door with darts that are ridiculously strong. Okay, Ervil, let's go. This next room is where things start to get a bit tricky. We got a new enemy type waiting for us. I don't know what happens if Ervil dies, so I'm just gonna have him wait by the door.
Oh dear. Oh my.
Uh-oh. Oh, good, they didn't hit him. Oh, Christ. Oh, yeah, these skeleton wizards, they summon greater bone walkers. A good strategy for these guys is to just ignore the bone walker and focus on the skellies. Even if you kill the bone walker, they'll just resummon a new one. So the best thing to do is to kite them. The skeletons, the profane acolytes as they're called, have a lightning attack, but it's not a one-shot kill, so they're not super dangerous. There are more profane in the next room, and it helps to draw them out one at a time. It's certainly possible to fight multiple at once, but that's a lot harder, obviously. The fire damage really does help though. Strength depleted, no magicka left to restore my strength, no potions to restore my magicka. All I can do is dump my inventory. That should do it. Damn it! I'll lure them into this bigger area. The topology of the shrine room is all kinds of inconvenient. Yeah, stun lock. Stun lock. Stun lock. Die. We did it, and we can level up. 1 profane left. Simpler that time. Now Ervil can cleanse the shrine. Great. Best of luck getting out, Ervil. I'm not escorting you back. As a reward for escorting Ervil without letting him die before he cleanses the shrine lol, Gavis rewards us with a Blessed Spear, an enchanted ebony spear that gives 30 points of shield and fortifies spear by 10 points, both constant effects. The shield particle effects are annoying, so even if I were primarily using spears, I probably wouldn't use this. There's probably a mod that gets rid of those particle effects. Now, Fedris Hlur wants us to return back to the sewers and retrieve Barrelzar's Mazed Band. Almalexia wants it. Thankfully, we don't have to escort anyone, and it's actually pretty close to the temple sewer's entrance. There are a lot of profane acolytes in the abandoned crypt, but these ones don't summon bonewalkers, making them much easier to kill. Their lightning balls are strong, but my potions can outheal the damage. Barrelzar's Mazed Band is, unsurprisingly, held by Barrelzar, the Lich of the Crypt. He tells us that he's cursed, that he must protect the ring from destroying the hearts and minds of mortals. It's his duty to keep his creations safe within the crypt. Don't know about you, but that description makes me want it more. Barrelzar casts a combination blind and paralyzed spell you need to dodge. Otherwise, you'll be rooted in place long enough for him to pull out his sword and one-shot you. He's pretty easy to stagger though if you spam heavy attacks on him with a two-handed weapon. Since the Profane isn't that threatening, I'm just going to ignore it while I half-circle strafe Barrelzar. I can get hit by the Profane's lightning a bunch and I'm just fine, but one hit from Barrelzar's paralysis means death. Better to get him out of the way as soon as possible. I'm also going to soul trap this Profane Acolyte. They've got Grand Souls worth 300 points and it might come in handy later. So we may have been sent down here to get Barrelzar's Mazed Band, but the real prize is his weapon, a Daedric Claymore. It's pretty damn heavy though, so it's time to say goodbye to the Adamantium Claymore and the Steel Flame Scythe. They served me well. Forever shall they rest in this crypt. Now that we have the band, Gavis wants us to hand deliver it to Almalexia herself. I'm honestly surprised when we ask why she wants the ring. She doesn't go all, "You dare question a god, puny mortal?" If we wait a day after giving her the ring and then talk to Fedris, he tells us to hurry to the city plaza as it's currently under attack by enchanted machinery. And sure enough, when we get to the plaza, we see it's currently under attack by enchanted machinery. Fabricants that will, of course, one-shot me if I let them touch me. My new sword, though, makes quick work of them. Once everything's dead, we return to Fedris to tell him, and he tells us to go back to the plaza and investigate the hole that's opened up under the statue of Almalexia defeating Mehrunes Dagon. In this hole is a pathway leading to the ruins of Bam's Amshen, and it's full of Dwemer constructs fighting more of those Fabricants that attacked Mournhold. I don't have to enter the ruins just yet. I could just return to Fedris and let him know what I found, but there's actually something in here I want to grab real quick. The southern door leads to the Hall of Winds. It's a dead-end chamber containing Dwemer spiders, Dwemer centurions, and a lot of uninteresting loot. But most importantly, on these shelves right here are a couple probes and lockpicks. The only lockpicks, as far as I'm aware, available in all of Tribunal. There might actually be another one deeper in the dungeon, but these are the earliest ones we can get. I need these for a side quest I want to do, and I want to open up this locked chest right here. It's a level 70 lock, and the lockpicks are only journeyman level, and my security is super low. But I thought ahead and made a Fortify security spell 100 points for 3 seconds. It's an expensive cast, and it has a low success chance, and it gives me very little time to pull out a lockpick and actually pick the lock, but it's literally my only option. This chest contains a Dwemer satchel pack. Explosives. We need 2 packs in total, and there's actually another chest later in the dungeon that contains another 2, so I guess you don't have to get these ones, but we're gonna have to do more lockpicking later, so I figured this was a good opportunity to introduce you to how I'll be dealing with that. The side quest is actually back in the ruins of Old Mournhold. I left a mark there, so returning wasn't too bad. In the temple gardens, there's a locked door leading to Gedna Relvil's tomb, and now that we have lockpicks, we can open it up. Entering the tomb gives us a message that this place stinks, but not of death, but of something else. We can talk to Marahellus about the latest rumors, and after she tells us about Solstheim, she then tells us about a strange disease going around. Probably should have led with that. Nerail Andarin is working on it, and she thinks it's got to do with the rats. Surely it wasn't the opening of a centuries-locked tomb. It's definitely the rats. The first thing Nerail wants us to do is help her with delivering a cure disease potion to Gaon Aulin in Godsreach, a simple task. Upon our return, we see the temple shrine is overrun with rats. And although Nerail's putting up a good fight, we need to jump in and clean up the mess. As thanks, she sends us to deliver another potion to some guy wandering around the temple courtyard. He's been barred from entering lest he spread his illness. He's a bit miffed, but he takes the potion nonetheless. When we return, Nerail reveals that she's learned the cause of the illness, the Crimson Plague, which really doesn't explain anything. Like, oh, what caused the Black Death? The plague. Okay, yeah, so what caused the plague? Like, that doesn't help. She says to stop the Crimson Plague, we need to learn why it's returned. The rats seem to be coming from the tombs beneath the temple, scurrying their way up through the basement, so she sends us to investigate. Who on earth could have opened that tomb? But when we enter the basement, we find a Khajiit woman, Shunari, standing over an unconscious guard. She contracted the Crimson Plague disease, but she's wanted by the law, so she can't speak with Nerail directly, so Nerail gives us a Cure Disease scroll to use on Shunari. We find Shunari deep in the caves under Mournhold, waiting outside the door to the temple gardens. After healing her disease, she tells us that she had been following us the first time we entered Gedna's tomb. But the tricky kitty she is, she noticed something we didn't, a secret passageway. And I also think she saw a skeleton walking through it. That kind of tipped her off that was significant. If we go back to the tomb and step on this rock right here, we activate a pressure plate, opening up a new cave system full of skellies that immediately kill me. Here we go. After fighting my way through all those skeletons, I come to a dead end with an NPC waiting at the end who is dead. So it's a dead end in 2 ways. It looks like one of the profane acolytes, but this is actually Gedna Relvil herself, and she ain't no acolyte. She's damn strong. Her spells do 100 to 200 points of poison, frost, and fire damage, all within 8 feet of the target. That's an average of 450 damage. On top of that, she has about 600 health, so it's not only a dangerous fight, but a long fight. And she basically has unlimited magicka, so I can't rely on the tried and true method of dodging her spells until she's spent. I gotta dodge her magic while fighting her in melee range. Ah, so close. The secret is to get a few hits in, back off a bit, and make sure the invisible line between you and her is parallel to the walls. That way you can strafe and the projectile will continue down the corridor and not hit a wall at an angle, catching you in the AoE. The ebony longsword with the fire enchant worked really well here. Being undead, she's weak to fire, or at the very least doesn't resist fire, and the longsword attacks quickly, so I can hit her with 40 points of fire damage in quick succession. With her dead, we can now loot what's possibly the worst item in the game, Robes of the Lich. Cast on use. Fortify magicka 300 points for 1 second on self. Drain health 600 points for 1 second on self. But if it's so horrible, why did I want it? Ah, you'll understand soon enough. Back to the main quest. A new cult has popped up, the End of Times, and its followers have begun killing themselves. Very Heaven's Gate. Marilyn Othan in the Great Bazaar tells us her brother was one of the cultists until he killed himself. Now, he's not a cultist, he's just dead. But she points us to the leader of the cult, Eno Romari, and he tells us that his cult believes the Tribunal's days are at an end, that the gates of oblivion will soon open and flood the world with unspeakable horrors, and the protection of the people will be left to the Dunmer's ancestor spirits. To aid the spirits in the coming apocalypse, members of the cult wish to become spirits themselves, so they kill themselves. I mean, he's not that far off. Alexia doesn't like this though, and to show off her truly divine power, she wishes to summon an ash storm upon Mournhold. an unending ash storm to remind the people who's really in control. But she can't actually do it because she sucks. Instead, she sends us back to Bamzimshend to activate an ancient Dwemer weather controlling machine. There are 4 kinds of Dwemer constructs in Bamzimshend: spiders, steam centurions, spheres, and archers. The most deadly are the archers because, for whatever reason, the darts they throw, not bolts, are some of the strongest in the game, and some are enchanted with a 15-foot wide shock spell. It's wild. I'm going to collect some of those darts though, I may need them. This Dwemer ruin is pretty linear with a couple branching paths along the way, but it's so spacious and well lit, if you lose your way, it's pretty easy to get your bearings back. When you see these 2 dwarven cuirasses and spears on either side of the door, you know you're going the right way. Radix Forge. Remember that name. You can tell if a sphere is an archer by the lightning shield. Only the melee spheres have that, and they're a lot weaker than the archers, so they're not very tough to deal with. This room contains a not quite finished Dwemer Colossus. Neat, but unimportant. There's actually a key in this room that we need. The door it opens has a trapped level 100 lock, so it's easier just to get the key. Down this ramp is that locked door, and the room seems uninteresting at first, but this chest in the corner contains 2 satchel packs. Besides the one we got earlier, these are the only other satchels available, and we'll need 2 in total. At the end of the dungeon, it seems we're met with a cave-in. However, will we progress? Well, the stones are a different color, so clearly we have to interact with them in some way. Place one of the satchel packs, take a step back, and wait. I don't actually know if you have to step back, it just seems like you should. Through the debris is more dungeon. Ignore that cave-in for now, we'll come back to it later. You can tell we're getting to the end of the dungeon because there's water on the floor. Here's the weather machine. We just need to slot the Dwemer coherer in place, then pull these levers a few times until our journal updates. I don't know the actual pattern, it seems like it's different every time, I don't know. But if you really care about the puzzle, you need to get the fresco on the wall to stop on the volcano, and that causes ash storms to hit Mournhold. And sure enough, here's an ash storm. What a merciful god. Now Almalexia wants me to kill one of her hands, Salus Valor. He's gone mad, according to her, and is spreading slanderous lies about her that probably aren't actually lies. This guy's really strong though, so we need to be ready. I'm like level 5 and he's level 40. We can't just brute force it. When I talk to him, he immediately attacks by throwing her darts at me. They're pretty easy to dodge and he's got a limited supply of them, but if they do hit you, it's bad, so don't get hit. Alright, Berserk for accuracy. We keep away from him when he attacks. He has a lot of health, so this fight will last quite a while. But if I get into a rhythm, he shouldn't be a problem. I won't be able to survive a single... Let's try again. Oh my god, the circle strafe strat works for him too. I just need to not mess it up. Ugh, and he heals. I think he only does that once though. It's because I stopped circle strafing. Oh, I found the rhythm. Yeah, got him. And he's got some good gear too. Rather, I've got some good gear now. It's heavy armor, so the armor rating on it is huge, not that it matters much, but all the pieces have some constant effect enchantments on them. The helm has 5% reflect, the gloves give 5 strength and 5 attack, the legs fortify medium armor, so they're useless and just weigh me down. The cuirass fortifies heavy armor, possibly pointless, but I'll use it anyway. The boots fortify agility by 5 points, and the shoulders resist poison and paralysis by 5% each. The poison resistance isn't all that useful. Her ebony scimitar is the weapon he was using. 15 points of frost damage, absorb strength 10 points for 50 seconds, damage strength 5 points for 1 second, and damage fatigue 50 points for 1 second. Pretty beefy enchantments, but so many enemies have reflect that my unenchanted Daedric claymore is kind of better. I'll drop everything I don't want, including my ebony longsword, outside the temple, just in case I want to get it back. It should all stay right here and I could just teleport right to this location at any time I want. As a reward, Almalexia lets us choose one of 3 buffs: resist paralysis by 10%, fortify all armor classes by 5 points each, or fortify health by 10 points. I went with the armor buff. None of these buffs would really help anyway. I guess the paralysis one would have been best, but anything that would paralyze me would probably also kill me in the same hit. Great, I resisted the paralysis, but I'm dead. Almalexia now tells us she believes we're the Nerevarine, and that we must now reforge Nerevar's sword, Trueflame, a wedding gift given to him by Dwarf King Dumak. Its twin, Hopesfire, was gifted to Almalexia, and it's the blade she still has. Trueflame, however, was lost during the Battle of Red Mountain. I wonder why. We need 3 pieces of the blade to reforge it. Almalexia gives us 1, and the other 2 will take some work. First, let me get rid of some of this less useful armor. I did some thinking. Some of it I don't need. I drained my agility while berserking, so the boots are pointless. The paralysis resistance from the shoulder doesn't really matter either, but now I can take back the scimitar because I'm not weighed down too much. It could be useful. One of the pieces of the blades is held by the Museum of Artifacts. To get it, we need to donate 2 artifacts to the museum. I already have one, the Robes of the Lich. There are 2 others I can get without leaving the tribunal areas. The Mace of Slurring and the Dagger of Simicus. I probably should have gone with the dagger. It would have been quicker since you get the dagger during the main quest anyway. But I was curious about the Mace of Slurring quest because I never actually did it. It's a simple quest. Talk to Golina Sadri, who seems to be a few scribs short of a qualm of mine, if you know what I mean. Alvin Laris sends us to Albert Nurmark, someone Golina's been seen talking with. Albert informs us that Golina was asking him about enchantments and having him inspect some strange devices of hers, and when he touched one, it shocked him hard enough to lose feeling in his arm for hours. She ran him out of the manor, accusing him of being a spy when he asked what was going on. Odd stuff. While I'm here with Albert, I'm gonna enchant a shirt with that Profane Acolyte soul I got earlier. 98 to 100 points of drain health for 1 second. I now know how drain health works, so when an enemy is close to death, I can cast this on them and kill him immediately. Back at Golina's manor, it seems the door's been locked, and it's a level 90 lock. There's no key as far as I'm aware, but I've got my trusty Fortify Security spell. And there's a dead guard. Lovely. Oh great, more sewers. So to get down this trapdoor, instead of just moving the crates like a normal person, we need to turn this valve, causing the water level to rise, lifting the crates out of the way. I know buoyancy can be a powerful force. It can do a lot of work, but come on, just push them. I swim through the water and surface at the mouth of more tunnels. The problem, however, is that these tunnels are full of traps that do way more damage than I can out-heal. How can I deal with this? Well, if I return to the temple, I can buy a spell absorption spell from Galsa Andrano. Vivek's Feast has a 10% chance to absorb a spell. Not good odds, and my mysticism level is low, so I'd fail the cast a bunch of times. But what if I go back to the sewers, soul trap a goblin, return to Albert, and enchant my Daedric Claymore with a 40-point spell absorption effect for 1 second on use? Ah, that might be pretty good. Shit, this one's on strike. I did it right. Ugh, reload the game. Okay, I did it right this time. 42 points instead of 40 on use. With this, I can reliably cast an absorb effect on myself and run by the traps, fingers crossed that the spell gets absorbed. If it doesn't, I die and I just try again. A 1, a 2, a 3. Ah, thought I could get 4 in a row. Well, that's the idea. And when I run out of charge, I can just wait for a day and it'll replenish. It's a bit cheesy, but hey, it's the only option I have. At the end of the gauntlet is Golina, and she is a tough fight. Not only is she a master of backpedaling, but she's equipped with powerful arrows that apply a 1 to 5 point poison for 50 seconds and a 20-second paralysis within 20 feet of where the arrow lands. I probably should have went with the paralysis resist, and maybe I should have kept that shoulder pad. Fortunately, orcs have a natural 25% magic resist, so I might avoid getting paralyzed every single time I accidentally get hit by the AoE of the arrow, and I might just get poisoned. But it's still a significant threat. I have to be so careful with positioning because even if I'm near a ledge or a pillar, the arrow can hit it and the explosion will still get me. It took me a good 15 minutes to actually put her down. I ended up using one of the pillars as kind of a shield. Standing behind it but at a distance kept me out of range of her arrow's AoE, but it also forced her to run toward the pillar to regain line of sight. I ran to the pillar, which is also what she's doing. She's running to the pillar, she runs around the pillar, and then I can attack her a couple times when she's just right within range before she backpedals. And then I run away and do the same thing. The loot's pretty good, glass armor, Daedric longbow, but I only care about the mace. I take the Robes of the Lich and the Mace of Flurring to Terasa Aram, and I donate it to the museum, and she gives us the Dwemer Battle Shield in return. Yagak Grogluck takes the shield and separates the broken Dwemer blade piece from it, giving us our second piece of Trueflame. Karod, King Helsat's champion, has the third piece, and he'll hand it over if we beat him in combat, but before we challenge him, we need to do the king a quick favor. He suspects there's a plot to assassinate Queen Baranzaya, his mother. So he orders me to wait in her antechamber late at night behind these dressing screens. Sure enough, a group of Dark Brotherhood assassins show up, but from the sounds of it, they aren't here for the queen.
Supposed to be here somewhere.
About a minute of kiting later, and all 3 assassins are dead. Helseth doesn't acknowledge that he sent assassins after me again, but that should be the end of it. He reevaluated things. It'd probably be better to have this unkillable warrior on his side rather than dead, or worse, working against him. He also gives us an amulet that fortifies security, sneak, and speed. Better than nothing. To prove ourselves to him, as if we haven't done enough already, Helseth has me fight his champion Karod, who surprisingly is probably the easiest fight in the game. He doesn't do a lot of damage, and even though he's fast, he's very easy to stagger. For winning the fight, Helseth gives me the Dagger of Simicus, which is one of the items you can donate to the museum, and I probably should have just donated this one with the Robes of the Lich. We can then talk to Karod and he will give us the final piece of the blade. I bring all 3 pieces to Yagak, who spends 2 days reforging the blade, but it isn't burning the way Trueflame should. Yagak figures since it's a Dwemer weapon, we ought to speak with a Dwemer about enchanting it. Luckily for us, a Dwemer mystic, Radek Stungentums, lived in Bamsum Shen and may have left some of his writings behind. How convenient. Oh, he didn't leave his writings behind. He's a ghost. He left himself behind. And he just so happened to show up after I realized I needed to speak with him. Radek tells us that he wasn't a mystic, but a soldier. He made weapons for his troops, but he can still help us. To add fire to the blade, we need Pyroyal Tar, and by God, Bamsum Shend is attached to the old Daedric citadel of Miandrur, where the Dwemer once sourced their Pyroyal Tar. Remember that second pile of debris we saw earlier? Yeah, we gotta go through that. In this final room is the Dremora Lord Cash T. Drur, who is holding on to one of the 3 vials of Pyroyal Tar in the game. The other 2 are deeper in the ruins, but we don't need them, so let's just kill this guy. This room is also full of Daedra of all kinds, Winged Twilight, Golden Saints, Hungers, but I'm only interested in Kashti. If I approach his throne slowly, I can get his attention without disturbing the other enemies. He's wielding a Dwarven Halberd, so he's got a much longer reach than me. It'll make... Okay, I'll lure him to the land. Should make fighting him a bit easier. Let's put this new shirt to use. Drain health, 98 to 100 points. Always with a reflect. Awesome. It worked that time. Let's take the tar and return to Radek. And he enchants the sword, just like that. No pomp and circumstance, just poof, and it's on fire. Cool. Trueflame. Its max damage is 75 on chop, but its minimum damage is 45 on slash. That means uncharged slash attacks will do 45 damage plus the 30 points of fire damage from the enchantment. It's a strong sword. Now that we have Trueflame, we're ready to perform Almalexia's final duty. She tells us that Sothasil, the 3rd member of the tribunal, is responsible for the attack on Mournhold. The Fabricants were his creations, and for unknown reasons, he sent them into the city to wreak havoc. The man's gone mad. Almalexia wants me to enter his Clockwork City and put him down. Trueflame, she tells us, has the power to kill a god when wielded by one of noble intent. No time like the present. Well, Elder Scrolls Online certainly took some liberties. The Fabricants aren't all that hard to kill. Sometimes you slip up and get one shot, but otherwise they die pretty easy. Make sure you loot as much of this Fabricant juice as you can. It boosts your speed by 10 for 10 seconds and it stacks, and we're gonna need plenty. Uh-oh. The scorpion-looking ones drop strength-boosting potions instead of speed. You'll need some of those too. So the only way to get to the door in this room is by outrunning the spinning wheel of death. An odd design choice if you ask me, but Sothasil's ways are beyond mortal ken. You can't leave the Clockwork City. Teleports don't work here. So if you drank all the potions up until this point, for whatever reason, what are you supposed to do? I guess the Fabricants will respawn if you dispose of their corpses. Personally, I would have placed this room before the previous room, and I'd have it spawn both types of Fabricants so you can stock up on as much of their juices as you need before attempting the puzzles. In this room, you need 100 strength to push the plunger that creates a bridge across the lava. That's why the scorpions drop strength juice. The penultimate room is a big arena with 2 statues at the end. But what's this? One of the statues is steaming? What? It's coming to life. A robot-looking statue is mobile? Here? In the Clockwork City? It has a really strong magic attack that would kill me outright if I didn't have a bunch of powerful potions. As I said earlier, the strength of these potions is absurd, but it's necessary if I actually want to complete this challenge. At least complete it without grinding to level 40 in the sewers or something stupid. His shock attack does, at minimum, 60 damage, and it adds a 50-point weakness to shock debuff. I have less than 100 health, so I gotta heal up really fast to make sure this doesn't kill me. And one punch kills me. The magic attack is actually the safer attack. With the construct dead, we can enter the dome of Sothasil. It's time we killed a god. What is this? You have found the body of Sothasil. Oh, that simplifies things. Problem solved. Wait a minute. Almalexia? Somebody killed Sothasil before I got here.
This Clockwork City was to be your death.
Jeez. Okay, so the potions are having some trouble out-healing the attack. Berserk, dodge. Equip Dwarven darts, back away. Dodge again. Drink a bunch of potions. Excellent. Now start chucking them darts. Fair warning, the spell effect is pretty bright. I'll try to dim it as best as I can. Jesus shit Christ, what the... What? It's like when Cooler swam through the Kamehameha. Ah, I'm out of darts. Should have farmed up some before this. That was more than half her health, though. Yeah, melee time. Damn it. Alright, Almalexia, let's dance. Berserk wore off. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes! Barrowzar's Maze Band, get me out of here.
You have done.
And because no tribunal run is complete without it, let's fight Gainer, the Ebony Warrior. He's got something like 800 luck and 50 to 100 reflect. Might be a bit tough. Oh, I broke his shield. It's only a matter of time now. And he's dead. It's actually easier than Almalexia, I'm going to be honest. Didn't expect this video to be as long as it is. Well, that's Tribunal from level 1.